This is Episode 2 of the Golden Age Timeline podcast, Chapter 1, Heliotropes. At Golden Age Timeline, we publish books and produce content on visionary themes. In the first episode of this podcast, we introduced you to our latest novel, Heliotropes, a visionary fantasy fiction, and you got to hear the prologue in audiobook form. If you haven't heard the prologue yet, do go back to Episode 1. Now, in this episode, we'll move on to the next part of the book. Chapter 1. Seattle, July 18th, 2010. At 1:11 a.m., Tia Violetta ended her Skype call. This client was a tough one. The old woman preferred her sessions late at night when everyone in her house had gone to bed. Breathing a sigh of relief, she flopped onto the four-poster bed. Rubbing her forehead, she dimmed the lights and poured 3 drops of lavender into a diffuser. Indigo fabric canopied every side of the bed, helping her feel safe again. Her client lived in a prison of luxury, surrounded by vulturous and violent family members. Although she had spent the entire session complaining about the gardener, Tia knew what was really going on. She would need to spend days helping the woman process the unacknowledged anxiety and protect her from the possible death threats. After each session, Tia imagined the woman's fear burning like logs in a fire, and she erected a fortress of light to surround her night and day. Her apartment stood separate from the rest of the estate where her father lived, which, she told herself, made it okay to live at home, even if she was 29. She had decorated her space in lush shades of lavender and magenta, accented with gold tapestries. Matching Ming vases, always brimming with violets, adorned each bedside table. After 7 clients in a row without a break, Tia was hungry. A kitchenette filled one wall of the apartment. On her way there, she caught a glimpse of her gaunt face, then grunted. Sleep wasn't as frequent an option as she'd have liked. Normally, she chose not to eat, a side effect of life-encountering allergy after allergy. On this night, however, she was famished. Bowl in hand, she entered an indoor greenhouse next to the kitchenette. Shelves of hydroponically grown plants glowed in the pink LED lights, such as alfalfa sprouts, lettuce, and basil. She harvested some of each, returned to the kitchenette, and set her newly gathered ingredients on the counter. Beside it, a multi-tiered food dehydrator housed other ingredients from the greenhouse. From the top shelf, she took a flaxseed cracker she'd made the day before. Fetching a jar of cashew spread, she took a seat at a tiny kitchen table next to the window. A pink placemat shared the surface with a vase of purple roses and a matching napkin rolled in a silver ring. After placing the napkin in her lap, Tia inhaled the food as she looked out over Puget Sound. To passers-by, her apartment looked like her father's mansion came from the future. With its curved walls of stainless steel and large round windows, it spilled out over the bluff above the West Seattle beach. She'd often seen people on the shore pointing up, discussing the unusual sight. By 2 a.m., her eyelids could barely stay open. At her vanity table, she removed the 17 pins that held her hair in place, then uncoiled each French braid before brushing out her hip-length hair. Once her routine was complete, she could only laugh at her reflection. Before going to bed, she often looked like Cousin It from the Addams Family. Fortunately, only her father had ever seen her like that, but he made enough playful jokes to compensate for those who missed out. A series of thumps shuddered from below, and Tia groaned. This usually meant her father needed help with something downstairs. He'd taken to thumping the ceiling with his cane to get her to venture down. Wearily, she climbed back out of bed and put a headband on to keep her hair out of her eyes, before bracing herself. The descent down the spiral staircase would lead her to the chaos of her father's world, so she took a breath to steel herself. Once the jewel of architectural magazines, the mansion now lay in disrepair, clutter reigning in whichever room her father chose to haunt. A maze of decades-old newspapers, moldy books, broken-down appliances, and electrical cords ran haywire in all directions. It made a fine haven for spiderwebs and dust bunnies. Cobwebs ran from light fixtures down to dead houseplants, while piles of old books choked the already narrow hallway. Dust and mold filled the air as she carefully avoided stepping on anything, moving with well-rehearsed precision. As she neared, the cacophony of 3 television sets grew louder. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the ocean, but tattered curtains and untended trees blocked a million-dollar view. When she entered the living room, her father was lying stuck in the feet-up position in his reclining chair. His domed head gleamed in contrast to the fringe of long, frizzy gray hair. Well. He looked at himself, assessing his situation, then looked back to Tia. Stuck? She offered.
Exactly. Did I wake you? I'm sorry if I did. I wouldn't have if it had been anything else, you know.
I know, Dad. It's fine. I was still awake. Earlier that week, she'd taken him to visit the doctor's office. Against his will, it should be noted. It was clear that he was overweight. But when the scales had reported a figure well over 350 pounds, and the doctor had to stop for a glass of water while listing his many maladies, the nurses had called him a walking miracle. I'm going to push from behind the chair, Tia said, rolling up her sleeves. She heaved, but to no avail. After several attempts, she slumped exhausted in a nearby chair, awaiting the next instructions. Her father said nothing. He only squeezed his eyes shut. Maybe I should call the care center, she suggested in a thin voice.
No! Try again,
he growled. I can't do it, Dad. I'm not strong enough. The corners of his mouth sagged downward. He blinked a few times, as though trying to piece something together in his mind.
Someone is outside the house, trying to get in.
Haven't I told you not to pay attention to visions like that? They just make you lose sleep.
But I'm often right.
I don't remember any of them being right.
But you need to believe me.
She stopped. Are we really having this conversation again? She thought. After a few moments of tension, she mustered her courage and said, You need help to get out of that chair. They'll only be here for a few moments. He scowled.
10 minutes, and 10 minutes only.
She nodded and let out a low, slow breath. On a corkboard, Tia found a phone number and dialed. A cheerful woman answered.
SRA Home Care.
Hi, my name is Tia Violetta, and we have a bit of a situation.
What kind of situation?
My 70-year-old father is stuck in his reclining chair, and I can't get him out. We're going to need someone quite strong to help out.
Your father is a big one, then?
Uh-huh.
Okay, then, we'll send our on-call nurse, Mary.
I'm sorry, Tia said quickly, but I think we might need a man in this case.
It's okay. Mary used to be a bodybuilder.
Got it. As they waited, Tia peered into her father's fridge. The vegetables she had put in there were now turning new colors. Instead, TV dinners and fast food containers filled every shelf. She walked back into the living room, but paused when glass crunched underfoot. Amidst shattered glass and a fallen curtain rod, a photo lay on the floor. Removing the glass shards, she studied the image. Your magazine cover is broken, Dad. He hummed his acknowledgement.
I dropped it by mistake and couldn't pick it up again,
he said, keeping his eyes closed but moving his hands in front of him in Tai Chi-type movements, quite unconcerned. On the cover, 8-year-old Tia stood beside her father on the lawn of the Violetta mansion. The Seattle magazine caption read, Genius Investor Builds Space-Age Home. She smiled at the memory and made space for the frame on the counter as she swept up the glass. It wasn't the first. On the mantelpiece were 3 other photos of Tia at various ages, but no other family members. As he watched her cleaning, her father cleared his throat and said,
You know that you don't need to keep doing that therapy work, honey. I'm going to put another $10K into your account tomorrow.
You don't need to do that, Dad. I make okay income, and it's called performance coaching, actually. I like doing it.
These people you work with, they rob your energy and hardly pay you anything.
Yes, I know what you think about all that. It's fine, okay?
Still, I worry. It seems hard on you, being on a computer with clients all day, every day.
I'm in demand. By the way, I just got asked to speak at a conference for people in the coaching industry.
What?
He said, that familiar facial tic that appeared whenever he got anxious appearing.
Where?
Los Angeles.
You're not thinking of going, are you?
His face was now in full twitch mode. Tia felt a jolt of energy in her solar plexus. It's an honor to be asked. How could I turn them down? Going against her father often brought on a headache. When she did leave the house to buy items that couldn't be shipped, a head pressure accompanied her the whole trip. Now her temples throbbed and her throat ached. My community wants to hear about the techniques I've developed. I have a full practice based on referral alone. I thought you'd at least be proud of me.
I am proud of you,
he said with a force that startled both of them. They glared at each other, unable to speak for a few moments. He took a breath and looked down.
I just know they will try to
harm me? Who would try to do that? Why would they try to do that? A rapid clicking sound echoed through the old estate. The doorbell hadn't worked for years, and her father didn't want it fixed. Instead of a chime, it sounded like someone trying to start a car with a dead battery. Tia sighed and opened the door just as a woman lifted her fist to pound on it. A stocky woman in a blue oversized caregiver's uniform stood squinting at her. She looked like she'd hit her mid-50s hard. I'm Mary Reedus, from SRA Home Care. Exhaustion rolled off the edges of her Bostonian accent. The dark circles under her close-set eyes spoke of burdens too painful to tell. Mary brushed past her, leaving Tia to stare as the carer darted around stacks of rubbish, down the long hallway and into the main living room. How does she know where to go? Tia caught up as Mary planted herself in front of Haddon, assessing the problem. He looked away. She tilted her head and drummed her fingers on her elbow with a scowl. I'm Mary, Mr. Violetta, and we're going to set you free in no time. She summoned Tia's help, and together they took a running leap at the rocker. They hit the chair simultaneously, the force knocking him free. He winced as he staggered to his feet, flailing unsteadily. Grabbing his two canes, he stilled himself, but when the two women rushed to help him, he pushed them away.
I'm fine,
he insisted, stalking off to the bathroom, cursing in a foreign tongue.
What's that language he's speaking?
Tia shrugged. I've only ever heard him speak English. Well, until recently. Mary looked intrigued.
Where's he from?
I don't know. Maybe born here, in Seattle?
I'm sorry. I thought you were his granddaughter.
His daughter, actually.
Oh, really?
Tia nodded, knowing she looked more like a teenager with her tiny frame and Rapunzel-length hair. Lately, he's been mumbling these strange words. When I ask him what he's saying, he either ignores me or says it's the Matrix language.
Matrix? Like in the movie?
Maybe? They both stifled a laugh. Mary cleared her throat, growing serious.
With his physical limitations and growing dementia, he needs to be in a care facility. A skinny thing like you can't possibly give him the help he needs.
Try telling that to him. Mary surveyed the unkept mess and raised her eyebrows. I try to tidy things, Tia explained, but he stops me. He used to be fanatically tidy, but now he's gone in the opposite direction. I try to help, but he prefers to be alone.
He needs to be in a well-equipped care facility,
Mary repeated. I know, but he made me promise I would never put him in a home.
It's not good for him here. This house is a fire trap. That said, the only place that could take a man of his size is where I work, SRA. But it's not cheap.
We have the money. It's just that he would hate it there. Mary raised her eyebrows.
Oh, yes. He's the owner of Violetta and Burris Investments. I remember reading about him. He's some kind of genius?
Tia nodded, feeling that familiar discomfort of being seen as the weird father and daughter cloistered away in the UFO house. Mary leaned in closer.
Are there any relatives that can help?
No.
Your mother also passed away?
I don't know where my mother is. She left when I was a child and did not keep in touch.
What kind of mother would abandon her own daughter?
Tia stayed silent, giving the carer a look that told her to mind her own business. Mary looked sideways and cleared her throat.
So, you've lived here your entire life?
I live in the upstairs apartment. It's a totally separate living space, but I need to be close by, given his situation.
Neighbors or friends?
She shook her head. As I said, he likes his privacy.
so there's no one else who can help you.
Listen, I understand you're trying to help, but my father would be upset if he knew I talked to you about all this. Mary handed her an in-home caregiver leaflet from SRA.
I just want to be helpful, but only in a way that works for you. If you hire someone like me, I can clean this place up, make it safe for him, ensure his every need is taken care of so that you can focus on your life again.
He won't allow anyone else in the home except me, unless it's an absolute emergency. Mary sighed.
It's your home, too. This is as much for you as it is for him.
Tia busied herself, clearing cobwebs from a doorframe, unsure what to say. An inner pressure that had been building up over many years swelled. The bathroom door opened, and he weaved his way towards the stair lift at the base of the grand staircase.
Thanks for your help,
He grumbled.
You can go now.
They watched as he lost his balance partway there. Mary lunged forward like a defensive linebacker, riding him before he could topple. She guided him towards the stair lift, buckled him in, and took him to the top. Maybe he felt too exhausted to resist, or maybe Mary was the kind of person he would finally let in. Nevertheless, as she followed, Tia marveled at how he softened under her care. Mary found his walker at the top of the stairs and led him to the bedroom door, where he stopped.
Thank you. I'm good from here.
Mary nodded and followed Tia back down the stairs, down the central corridor to the front door.
Call SRA,
Mary said, stepping onto the front porch.
You don't have to do this alone.
Tia looked down at the ground and nodded, not trusting her voice to speak past the lump in her throat. A summer rain sprinkled down just outside the front porch. Mary opened her umbrella and headed out into the damp night air. Tia lingered, watching the nurse drive away while enjoying the fresh air and contemplating her options. Hiring Mary would mean she could go out more, attend events, or even, God forbid, date. As she walked towards the door, a crash came from behind. She reeled around to see a man stumbling from the bushes. Tia jumped back and screamed. He held his hands up.
My apologies, miss. I didn't mean to scare you, he said. I may have the wrong house. I'm looking for a Mr. Haddon Violetta.
Tia backed up towards the door and pulled her sweater around her. What she had assumed was a man looked more like a teenager. He wore a helmet, military jumpsuit, and a bewildered expression. What are you doing here? Leave before I call the police.
No, wait, please. My name is, Addie. Does a man named Haddon Violetta live here? He would be, I guess, 70 years old by now.
The man shivered, water dripping from his jumpsuit. Tia opened the front door and stepped inside the landing, pausing, poised to slam the door. There's no one here by that name. You have the wrong house. Now leave. She slammed the door shut and double-locked it.
What happened? What's going on?
Haddon shouted out from the bedroom. Tia tiptoed upstairs and peered inside his bedroom. This time you were right. Someone is outside. A strange man jumped out of the bushes and scared the hell out of me. Maybe one of those weird fans of yours. He wore a helmet and jumpsuit, and he was all wet.
What did he say?
He asked if you lived here, but I said no. His eyes grew wide.
Did he give his name?
I think he said Addie.
Addie? Bring him in, now!
Tia stared at him. But you hate having strangers in the house.
He's not a stranger. Let him in.
Okay.
Bring him into the living room. I'll meet you down there shortly. And if he's wet, bring him some of my old clothes from the hall cupboard.
Tia hadn't seen her father get so riled up about a visitor in a long time. She padded downstairs again and unlocked the front door. The man stood shivering in the cold night air, looking lost. Come in. My father says he knows you.
Thank you,
Addie said, visibly relieved. He climbed the stairs, his helmet swinging from a finger.
You're his daughter? That's amazing.
Why is that so amazing?
It's just that,
he stammered, looking away, then down at her hair that now frizzed out in all directions.
You have the same kind of hair as my mother's.
Really? How exactly do you know my father?
I'll let him talk about that.
Tia stared at him for a moment, then led him into the living room. All the while, Addie looked around, awestruck.
This is quite the place. Mr. Violetta has done well for himself.
Tia narrowed her gaze but said nothing. Perhaps he's a con man, she thought. He stopped in front of the flat-screen TV and ran his hand over the top. She noticed a puddle of water forming around his feet. I'll get you a towel and some dry clothes. My father will be down in a few minutes. As Tia gathered a tracksuit for him, she couldn't help but notice that he looked like a family member. In fact, he could even be her brother, given their similar facial features. Try these, she said, holding out the clothes and pointing to the bathroom. There's a towel on the shelf.
Much obliged, miss.
You can just call me Tia.
Tia, he nodded. Copy that.
When he emerged from the bathroom, he looked bemused, holding his arms up as he assessed his new attire.
This is quite the space-age outfit.
Yes, right. Maybe he comes from a rural part of the world and doesn't get out much. He stopped at the mantelpiece and held up a photo of Tia and her father on the magazine cover.
This is him?
She looked at him uncertainly. Yes, sorry, but how long has it been since you've last seen him? He hesitated before answering.
A very long time.
Want some hot cocoa?
That would be mighty fine, miss. Tia.
As she boiled the water, Tia peered at him from the kitchen, concerned he might steal something. He picked up the TV remote and studied it closely, then put it back down. Next, he looked behind the flat-screen TV. Here you go.
Thank you,
he said, taking the mug and sipping from it. He hummed contentedly.
So good.
Did you want to turn it on? His eyebrows lifted. The TV?
That's a television set?
She nodded.
Sure.
She picked up the remote, and on came a TV show. He jumped back, mesmerized by the images of starships fighting in space.
Are these in your atmosphere now?
He said, sounding panicked. What? This is a TV show. Ever heard of Battlestar Galactica?
Oh, a TV show. Got it.
One of the actors in the show spoke, and Addie looked to the left as if expecting to see someone there. It's surround sound.
Surround sound?
Tia nodded once and knitted her brow. The audio doesn't come from the TV. We've got separate speakers for it.
Pretty nifty.
Her father hobbled into the room with his 2 canes. Tia helped ease him into the chair, and Addie sat across. The 2 men nodded to each other, but said nothing for a few moments. Tia tapped her fingers on her knees, looking from one to the other. How do you know each other? Her father cleared his throat and looked sideways.
It's a long story, Tia. I'll tell you later. Addie and I just need to have a chat.
Tia nodded, but she couldn't help feeling left out. Of course. I'll let you 2 catch up. Just call up if you need anything. As she backed out of the room, Addie stood up and nodded to her as she left. How old-fashioned, she thought, and smiled back at him.
Don't go to sleep just yet, honey, her father called out. I'll call you back down in a bit.
Puzzled by the request, Tia shrugged. Okay, see you soon. Maybe Addie needs a ride to the airport. Closing the door behind her, she climbed the spiral staircase to her apartment. She lay on her bed for a while, staring at the ceiling, but the curiosity gnawed at her. Who was this stranger who had stumbled onto their property, and what made him so special that her father had let him into the house? Unable to bear it, she tiptoed to the floor radiator and placed an ear against the grate. They spoke in hushed tones, but as she strained to hear, she realized they were speaking in a completely unrecognizable and musical kind of language. Frustrated, she crawled back onto the bed and thumbed through a magazine, half concentrating, and her heart drumming faster and faster. To check out more info on Heliotropes or to order your copy, just go to goldenagetimeline.com/book or see the link in the show notes. Until next time, thanks for listening.